Good morning, welcome everyone. Welcome to the orientation webinar for social work students. So basically this webinar is for students who are enrolled in Bachelor of Social Work degree or considering enrolling in Bachelor of Social Work degree. So currently the Bachelor of Social Work degree program is offered only in the Toronto campus. But in saying that, you can actually do some of the papers under this degree in the Hamilton campus. The Bachelor of Social Work degree is basically available as a specified program in the Toronto campus, which may be awarded with honors. This is basically a 4-year professional degree, which is recognized by the Social Workers Registration Board in New Zealand. So that basically means once you finish this qualification, you will be eligible to register as a professional social worker in New Zealand. This also means that this qualification is recognized in Australia, and that's mainly because of the Trans-Tasman Agreement between the Australian Association of Social Workers and the New Zealand Social Workers Registration Board. So when you finish this qualification, you can take this qualification to Australia and practice there as a social worker without any further credentialing. So, as I said earlier, this is a 4-year degree. So each year, full-time students are supposed to do 120 points. And in year 1, students are required to do 8 compulsory papers. And then in year 2, students are required to do 7 compulsory papers, and it goes like that. The most important part of this degree comes in year 3 and year 4, and that's when students are going for their practice placements in social work agencies, mainly in the Bay of Plenty area, but also in other parts of the country. So that means we have a balance of theory and practice, and each placements in year 3 and year 4 are normally for duration of 60 days if you're doing that as a full-time student. So in terms of what is social work is basically a practice-based profession, but it is also an academic discipline that promotes social change and social development, social cohesion, and also empowerment and liberation of people. And basically, social workers aspire to engage with the people, their families, and their communities, and also social structures to address the life challenges people have, to address the well-being needs, and also promote their self-determination and autonomy. And in doing this, work, what we focus is on, our focus is on the principles of social justice, economic and human rights, collective responsibility, and respect for diversity. So essentially, in our practice as a social worker, we work with individuals, we work with the groups, we work with the families, and we also work with the communities. So it's a very diverse profession. And as a result, when you practice as a social worker, the career opportunities are quite wide. And the qualified social workers can work in either statutory or non-statutory organizations. And looking at the trends in terms of where our graduates are working, many of our graduates are working with the Ministry of Children, especially in Oranga Tamaraki, and in the past it used to be known as Child, Youth and Family. And also our students work in other statutory organizations like district health boards. And many of our students also work in organizations like Department of Corrections, and other organizations are non-profit organizations. So you would be able to work in these non-profit organizations and statutory organizations as social workers. And most of the time, the title of the job is a social worker, but sometimes it is also known in other titles, like human service worker or youth worker. But basically, your qualification would require you to work with individuals and families and groups in some settings, but also with the community at large. So a wide variety of career opportunities are available there, both in New Zealand and also in overseas. So we do have our graduates working as practicing social workers in other countries like UK, for example. So the knowledge and skills you will gain from this degree is quite transferable to other geographical areas. So in terms of studying, normally we encourage students to start their studies in our trimester, starting in March. And normally we would recommend students to study full-time because it's a very prescribed degree so that we can meet the accreditation requirements. And it would take 4 years to complete this study if you study full-time. And if you are part-time, this could take between 6 to 8 years to complete. And as I mentioned before, in year 3 and year 4, students will be going to different social service agencies to do their placements. And most of the time, many students do find employment from their placement. So the placement normally becomes a paid employment at the end of the placement. The admission to the social program is by selection. Basically, the process is actually open at the moment, and we encourage students to submit their applications by October because there's a selection process which might include an individual interview. But the other requirements are students need, in addition to their normal application to enroll in the university, they need to submit a supplementary application form for BSW. And they also need to provide a statement of why they want to be a social work student. And they also need to consent to police vetting. So basically, to be admitted into the social work program as a social work student, the program needs to ensure that you are a fit and proper person to practice social work. And that's why we have to do the police vetting process. So the police vetting process happens before you come into the program in year 1. And it also gets repeated in year 3 and year 4 before the placement. Because before you go on placement in year 3 and year 4, you need to ensure that you are a safe person to practice with the children under the Children's Act 2014. So when we look for information with the police vetting process, the clean slate legislations won't apply to social work. So basically, all the convictions would be listed in the police vetting if you got any convictions. So essentially, the program needs to conduct that fit and proper assessment before we can offer a place in the program. But in saying that, having a conviction is not necessarily a problem for gaining admission into the program, but then we will normally need to have a conversation with you about any convictions you might have. So that's why we have this personal interview process. So all applications will be considered by a case-by-case basis. So there are a few steps if you're planning to coming into the program, and if you're not already in the program. So step 1 is obviously applying to enroll and then receive a conditional offer. And then step 2 is completing the online BSW supplementary application and providing the police vetting form and consent form. And the step 3 is not every students are getting interviewed, but if people have any criminal convictions or they have any physical or mental health issues that could have an impact on their studies, then normally we will have a conversation. And so if there is an interview needed, and that normally happens sometime in November, December, and then based on that process, you will be offered a place at the program, and so that you can start your studies in March. So that's how the program goes. And sometimes students wanting to enroll in BSW, and sometimes they do miss the deadline, or they want to enroll in trimester B. And if that's the case, normally what we do is they will initially be enrolled in Bachelor of Social Sciences, but they will still be doing all the papers in social work, and at the end of their first year, then they will go through the selection process and admitted into the social work program. So we do say that life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing, and so we recommend that be daring and be a social worker. So that's basically what I have to say about the social work program, and I'm happy to answer any question you might have. Thank you. Okay. So we have two questions that came up. So the first one is, how do I find placement? So that basically a program process. So what normally happens is at the end of year 2, we send some documentations to the students asking about their placement preference, in terms of where they want to go. And based on those preference and students fit with the different agencies, the program actually negotiate the placements with the agencies. So the students can always put forward their preference, but the program actually organizes it. So the second question is, do I need any previous experience to apply for social work? No. But if you have any voluntary experience or any sort of similar experience like being a youth worker, that would be really good. But for admission purposes, you don't really need any previous experience to apply for social work. Should we stay some more time to see if there are any questions coming? No, and if you have any questions about studying social work, please get in touch with the program. The program convener can advise you about the program. And thanks for joining with us today. Thank you.